I'm going to talk today about measure twice, cut once, okay? And it sounds like it's just going to be a mechanized presentation, but it won't be. I want to tell you a little bit about who I am. My name is Paul Bakalis. I'm an architect. I'm in Arizona, and I was appointed by the governor 3 years ago to run the School Facilities Board. That is at its core, a funding agency. So we're a capital management agency. We give out about maybe $300 million a year, and we're only on the facilities side. We don't fund students or maintenance. We just fund facilities. And words matter when we talk about what we do. I want to talk a little bit about our culture and what that is. What we hold important to ourselves is that we have a compelling value proposition. When I say that, I mean we have 217 school districts in the state. There's 1,600 schools, about almost 15,000 buildings, 143 million square feet in the enterprise. And so we are the only place that school districts can get money from when they apply for a grant. In other words, our Building Renewal grant program, which is for correcting deficiencies, basically fixing things that are broken. And then we have a new school fund, which funds new schools. But in our deficiency program, we're the only place that they can come for that money. They can't go anyplace else to get it unless they use their taxpayer base for bond funding to do the things that we can help them with. And I hate it when they do that. Some of the more wealthy school districts will just use their bond money. They have other ways to get money, and from us is one of them. So we don't really have to earn their business, but we want to. And so we want to earn their business because we've developed a compelling value proposition from which they derive benefit. And that means everything we do, we say to ourselves, is this a compelling value proposition that the districts will benefit from? If it's not, let's not do it. Let's just move on. So what we do is we partner and we advocate for the districts with the legislators. We prioritize knowledge so that we can share with them what our best practices, what's going on in the markets today. We execute on our commitments. If we tell them we're going to do something and we're going to do it faster and better, then we need to deliver on that, and we're going to celebrate successes. And we do that with them all the time. We go to groundbreakings and stuff. The thing that I wanted to share is that the most important thing about the agency, and when I started 3 years ago, it was a typical state agency. Everybody did what they were told. Nobody got out of line, and I am not that kind of a guy. I really believe that if we build culture, we'll succeed. That picture there is some of the celebrating that we do as a group with the districts and also in our office. We get together with people a lot. You can see down in the bottom slide there, I'm presenting to a group of community members. We want them around whenever we can. The big picture with the balloons is a groundbreaking for a school in Peoria, which is Canyon View High School in the Agua Fria School District. I'll talk a little bit more about that later, but that just won the James McConnell Award, which is an international award for best high school. When I talk about culture, we've had some people in our office that have shared with us what is culture. I don't know if any of you know who Jack is, Jack Daly. He is a businessman who has started businesses, built businesses, sold businesses, and he came and spoke to us, and it really was all about if you build culture, then you will have success. When I got to the agency, I was quite different. I come out of private practice. I'd never worked in a state agency before. I'd done buildings for public entities, federal and state, and also had done work around the country and around the world, but I'd never worked inside that environment. Working with them, I thought I never would find myself inside that environment, but here I am, accepting an appointment from the governor to run an agency. And so I brought a very fresh thought to what we were doing in terms of how we were going to operate, who was important, how we were going to relate to our customers. And the other thing that I didn't think they expected was that, what do you do when you're in private industry and you have a business? You grow it. That's not the public way. The public way is to do less with more, or do more with less, rather. And that was not my game. So when I got there, I basically opened up all the cage doors to everybody that was caged. And some walked out and sort of looked around and thought, what's that like? And others ran out, and some never got out of the cage. But the culture was going to be quite different, and they self-selected out. I didn't have to fire them. I didn't have to reprimand it. They wouldn't let me redirect them. And so they left, and they went to other places where they were more comfortable, which was great for them. I couldn't have been more happy for them, and it allowed us to advance the agency. So we did what businesses do when you open a business, and I looked at this as I was opening a business. We did a SWOT analysis. I got the whole team together. I was fortunate there was only 10 of us, and we did an analysis, and we wound up with a action plan. And that action plan was all about doing what I said, being a partner and advocate to the districts, never an adversary, to make them, to create for them a compelling value proposition from which they derive benefit, to always be on their side, looking out for them and sharing best practices that we were learning along the way. So what did we do? We focused on customer. We engaged our customers, we visited with them, and we listened to what they said. We listened to what their needs were. We ensured participation by the districts. We explored challenges and opportunities, and we funded projects. When I got there, we had done 400 projects in a year. Last year, we did 1,600. This year, we're scheduled for 2,100 projects. When I got there 3 years ago, we didn't have a single school under construction or in design or completed. Today, we have 21 schools in design, in construction, or recently opened. The character of our culture has changed what we're able to deliver. And it's a massive task because I said when I got there, I was the 10th person. We've seen all that growth, and you know, we have 15 people now. We also have 2 consultants that I brought on board because our operations budget doesn't let me hire more people. We have some funds, our new school fund, and so I'm using that to fund positions so that people can watch over our projects. Before, our agency just wrote checks. You know, you're entitled to $20 million. There's a check for $20 million. Go build a building. We don't do that anymore. Yeah. I'm the only architect in the agency. And we have finance. There's 3 people in our finance group. We have an operations person. I have 2 deputies, deputy of operations, 1 of finance. We have liaisons, and those are the ones that are the customer service representatives. That's what I call them, all right? We have meetings only on Monday when everybody comes because we have districts all over the state. So on Mondays, everybody's in the office. We all meet. We have a 9 o'clock staff meeting. We spend an hour talking about what happened last week, what worked, what didn't work, what do you need help with this week, you know, so that we're all in tune and supporting each other. And then we have our operations meeting, which goes pretty much for the rest of the day, depending on our load and how close we are to a board meeting. We just had a board meeting 2 weeks ago. We awarded projects at 61 districts, 186 projects, totaling almost $13 million in 1 month. My first year there, my Building Renewal Grant Fund was $13 million with a $15 million supplemental, so $32 million. Our second year, we asked for 52. We asked for 75 million. They gave us 52. At the end of the year, we wound up spending 77 million because we asked for a supplemental in March to finish out our year at the end of June. And they were kind enough because they could see what we were doing in this whole issue around measuring twice, cutting once, right? And so this year, we started the year with 80 million. I suspect we're projecting about a $15 million ask at the end of the year. And then next year, we just finished our budget for 2021, and we asked for 107 million next year. So we're ramping up our business and growing. I mentioned we have 15 people and two consultants. Next year's budget, we asked for 21 full-time equivalents and 4 full-time consultants. We have another 7 schools we've approved to come online. So we're nimble because we're small. We can do things very quickly, and we do. So how are we organized, you know? Well, here's our org chart. This is one of the things I did when I first got there. You can see who's on the bottom, and that's me. If we say our customers are our most important business attribute, then they're on top. The school districts, all 217 of them, and our liaisons are our point of contact with our customers. They're the most important people in our enterprise because they are in the building and with those people all the time. And so they're now supported by our agency enterprise. And that includes our people like our assistant liaisons. And then we have an attorney at the Attorney General's office, our assistant attorney. She keeps me out of jail because we're moving. Our cadence has never been faster than it is right now. Our North Star has never been clearer than it is right now. And so we're moving very quickly and not working in the public realm. I need my assistant AG because she's keeping me out of trouble. And then the rest is the operational support. My only job is to make sure that they have all the information, tools, and knowledge to be successful and then get out of their way so that I'm not their impediment, I'm their biggest fan. And that's how we work, and it's why we're doing so well. That's my team there. And it's a pretty diverse team, just like our school districts are. And that's our logo. That was another thing I did when I got there. I said, you know, we had a state seal. I get it, the state seal is beautiful. But what does it say about us? It says the same thing about us it says about every other agency who puts the state seal up there. They don't know what we're about. So I hired a graphic designer who did this, and if you look at our logo, and you can see it better in the slide corner, what are we doing? We're lifting up the building together, all hands on deck, right? That's who we are. And that culture is having a huge impact, not only in what we're doing for schools, but in the confidence that legislators have in us now to say to me, how much do you need, Paul? What's the investment that you want to make this year? Because we're changing the language. I said words mattered. They do. And so we don't talk about expenditures anymore. We don't talk about what it costs to do something. We say, hey, we want to make an investment in CTE, and we're doing that now. That was a great presentation. I don't know if you were here for that. But this whole issue about academies, career pathways in high school, so that at the end of high school they have a career, if that's what they want. So we're doing a lot of that. That's the team, and I tell them, we all care about each other. I love them all, yeah. They do, and we've made it extraordinarily easy. Here's our exploration here when we were going through the SWOT analysis. This is actually trying to improve one of our processes. The governor was the CEO of Cold Stone Creamery before he was governor. And so he really wants to move at the speed of business because he's experienced in that. So we have the AMS program, it's called the Arizona Management Program, and that is figure out what it is that's important, mark it, watch it, and indicate your success against it. And so we do that all the time. So this is our BRG, Building Renewal Grant Application process, that we're mapping in swim lanes so we can do a better job and make it easier for districts to get money. Because when I started, the attitude was the SFB doesn't have any money, they're hard to work with, and they always say no. That's what I walked into when I started. Not a very pleasant environment, and that's what they expected me to do, was to continue that. And instead we did, and we changed it dramatically. So now we started our first year, partner and advocate, never adversary. We dropped the never adversary because it was negative, right? So now it's just partner and advocate. And then this last year we started with this, you know, we want to develop we want to earn the district's business because we have a compelling value proposition from which they derive benefit. That's what we're all about. Every day we say that, and everybody in my office will say the same thing. And it'll roll off their tongue as quickly as it does off mine, because we really care and believe about it. So that's what we did. That's our big conference room. That wall that the swim lanes are on now, I wound up putting up 6 foot by 4 foot glass panels on the wall. People love to write on glass because they don't get to do that all the time. Plus, the room doesn't have to be white. We painted the walls, and then we put the glass panels up, and it's beautiful. And you can spray paint them and scrape it off. I mean, glass is really forgiving. It's not like a whiteboard. It goes for years, right? You're doing the same, you're working on the same messages for years. So that we made some changes here as well. This is some more interaction with the districts. We have minimum adequacy guidelines. Those tell districts what they have to do when they're building a building. This is the minimum adequacy in a building that you're going to build. Those things were written in 2000, they were revised in 2006, and they still tell every district they have to have an overhead projector and a VCR. And we get letters every time we get a new school to ask for an exception from that, an exemption from that. So we got permission from the governor's office to go into rulemaking, and we're now in the process of redoing that. What we did is we put 35 stakeholders together that are from districts, designers, contractors, community members, teachers, and we even put 2 legislators on there. I was a little nervous about doing that because I didn't want anything to slow us down. I didn't want to get, mired in, but it was the best thing we did because now they knew what we were up against. So anyway, I'm getting the signal from my wife, which is good. By the way, that's my wife, Tina, over here. Oh, I'm going to get there. So in fact, I'm doing it right now. Beautiful segue. We moved all of our services online. You want to do an application for a building renewal grant, you do it online. Super easy to do. Takes 15 minutes. And you can apply for millions and millions of dollars. And we work hard to get to yes. When I got there, we didn't have a lot of money, and the prior directors would try to find a way to say no so that there was money to sustain the fund at the end of the year. Because they thought at the end of the year, if they had money left, they won. I feel like at the end of the year, if I have money left, they should fire me. They gave me money to give to the districts. Why would I hold on to it? So we put everything online. We made it easier for them to do it. And that's one of our board meetings, 1,300. That was last year's running number to 1,600 at the end of the year, 1,349. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm on the wrong slide. So this is what I'm talking about now. Gave them grant applications, all available 24/7 online. They get payment applications 24/7 online. Change orders 24/7 online. District dashboard. They get a dashboard so they can see all their projects, where they are, what they need to provide in order to keep it moving. And so does everybody. And I have a dashboard. I don't know why they gave me one. It's very dangerous. But my liaisons have dashboards. My finance and operations people have dashboards. Okay, so everybody can see exactly where we are anytime we're in the mix on a project. This is our social media. Remember I said we have all these online services. Not everybody knows how to use social media. So we have training videos on our YouTube channel. It's up there in the upper left. How to fill out a BRG application, how to fill out an application for payment, how to get validation for adjacent ways when you can use taxpayer county monies to build your fire lanes and bus lanes and anything off-site. Making it easy for them to do that. We also have best practice videos. We had one of my guys, architect who was responsible for security and stuff, and he was a real expert. And he came here and spoke at the last session in Texas. His video's up there, so you can watch and see what we think best practices are around security. We have a Twitter account, SFB Voice, and that's so everybody can figure out what's going on by being on our Twitter feed. And we tweet probably not 82 times a day, like some people do, but we send out a couple, 3 tweets every week about what we're doing, what's going on, what's new, what have we learned. Here's something we want to share with you. We also use eye contact to do that. So we have about 900 people on our eye contact list. They're all district people, and they all get messages from us about what's new, novel, and nifty. And then we have Facebook. Interesting story, when I got Facebook, I was really disappointed the first year. We had hardly any likes or follows. And then I found out most school districts block Facebook. So we said, okay, next. And then we moved to Twitter and our account. I think we had on Twitter 12,000 retweets in a month. Yeah, it's crazy. And we've only been doing it for a year. So we're getting better. I'm going the wrong way here. Here we go. So what are our accomplishments? Let's talk about those. This is what happened when I got there. I mentioned 30 million in BRGs, no new schools, 9 FTEs, 0 consultants, sluggish culture, lacked the North Star, slow, sluggish cadence. I started in September of 16. The following year, we're looking at a little bit better. Few services online, grants and funding, 52 million in BRG funds, 21 new schools now in design and construction or recently completed, 15 FTEs and 2 consultants. A little bit of a sluggish culture, but we had our North Star and we had started to develop some good cadence. Those last 2 shouldn't be on the slide. We were hopping. 2020, now we're up to 80 million. 21 new schools, we're up to, still have 15 FTEs and 2 consultants. But now in 21, as we start to move forward, we're looking at 21 FTEs, 4 consultants, 30 plus new projects in design and construction or recently completed. And and we're moving lightning fast. So now it's easier for districts to access funding. We've provided assistance in correcting deficiencies, so now we're adding technical support. We're now funding professional services. We're now funding assessment reports on systems. We're now funding consultants that can go in and help them manage a project. Because as you might imagine, and you probably experienced this too, when you have as many districts as you might have a district that has 80 kids in a school. And it's the headmaster, superintendent, principal, and everything else. So it's, they need help. And we're starting to fund that kind of help for them. So here's the cut once, measure twice. Here's Pay Appinator, all online. It makes it easier and faster for school districts to access funding for correcting deficiencies. We can provide online access to services, drive complete and accurate applications through our training videos. We can support timely applications for payments, and it's rapid response. When I got there in 2016, applications for payment aged more than 100 days, and in some cases it was hundreds of days between when a district applied for a payment and we actually released a check. Today, with Pay Appinator, we're 10 days with tracking toward a target of 7. So we're at a 10-day turnaround from hundreds of days before. It's remarkable what you can do when you give them a tool, give them a knowledge, and say, go for it. Here's another one, cut once, measure twice. When I got there, change orders. We always put 10% of a project aside for contingency. And so when I got there, we were sitting on a Monday going through projects, and I go, what happened to the contingency? I don't know, they invoiced for it. What? They invoiced, and we paid it? Well, what did they use it for? I don't know. They said they needed it. No. So we started a change order process. I modeled it after the G702, standard AIA document. Everybody expects it out there. 10% of 80 million is $8 million. Now we have a change order process, all online, part of Pay Appinator, upload it with signatures, all digital signatures now through Adobe PDF. And so it happens fast, right? We couldn't sustain the fund when we didn't know what was being done with all that 10% of our money. When we talk to the legislators about what we're doing, and we started this year an hour with the director to spend time with those people to show them what we're doing and how we're improving the enterprise and how we're doing things better. This one here is manufacturer certified technical diagnostics. We got an assessment from a school district for replacing fire alarm systems in 3 schools. $1.4 million. Now you all know how highly proprietary fire alarm systems are. One manufacturer makes all the devices and they tell you no other device will talk with their main panel, right? So and now we get a call from a district and they say, hey, Paul, I got a problem. I'm down and the fire marshal wrote us up and I'm on a 24/7 fire watch. So now they want us to act, right? So we fund an assessment normally, but I said, let's do this. Let's get the manufacturer in who manufactured this highly proprietary system and let them tell us what's wrong with it. Not so we can walk away from it, but so we can sustain it and get them off fire watch and then make the corrective actions that need to be made, whether or not that is to replace it. So this one school, 1.7 million, did a technical diagnostic. They go out there, look. They found some devices that had dead batteries, but that wasn't all of it. There were some devices that needed to be replaced. We replaced them, got them all up and running. This was almost a year ago. They are still sustaining, and it was $17,000. Tell that story to a legislator, and that's what they say. Oh, you're measuring twice, cutting once. Good for you. You need 80 million? How about 100? Can we help you make that investment better? So we're doing that now. These manufacturer certified technical diagnostics have been working miracles for us. The other thing we're doing is we're pausing at times in the process. We go out, we do an assessment, we pause between the assessment and the award of the design to make sure that the architects or engineers know what the scope of work is. We used to do an assessment for one building and we'd get a proposal and we didn't pause. We let the districts go out and procure the proposal and then have them do the design. And it turns out they're designing a new roof for 7 buildings now. We did an assessment on 1, now they're doing all 7. So we pause between assessment and design, take a look at it, make sure the scope is right. We pause again before they go out for bid to make sure the documents reflect what we're doing, because now we have developed performance specs for roofing and fire alarms. And so we pause there, and then we pause after the drawings come in and before we make an award. So we sit down with the contractor to make certain that, that the scope of work is appropriate. Measure twice, cut once. And then here is what we're doing now for schools. And I won't spend much more time because I think I'm running out, but let me tell you about Benson. Benson was a school that was funded when I got there. They actually had gotten money in 2015 to build a new school. How many of you get money from the state to build a school? Anybody? Well, in most cases, we don't fund enough. It's about half the value of the building. And we were using CM at risk to build most of the new buildings. And this is in a rural area. And they threw their arms up because the architect came back and said, you don't have enough money to build a school. And I'm an architect, and it's like I was only there for a month or two, and I said, bring them in. What do you mean they can't build a school? You know, so they brought them in, we sat down with the district and everybody else, and we went through a charrette of the building and of the program, and we said, we can do this. I said, you know what, let's look at building types. Let's look at structural, systems. And a rigid frame metal building is about the least expensive thing you can do. And so we did that. And we built this building for formula money. Now, I did go back to the legislators and say, hey, you know, you had budgeted $825,000 for a property purchase, but the district decided to put it on their site. Can we repurpose that money for the building? And they said, yes, we can do that. Let's do that. And that's what they did. This is our poster child. This is a building that's for K4. There's 6 classrooms and a multipurpose room. Initially, the multipurpose room didn't have any walls around 3 sides. I went to the legislature and said, this meets Mid-Madison guidelines. These are the outdoor learning areas, outdoor learning environments we've created. And we gave them hope, and we built them a building and the ribbon cuttings in January. These are the kinds of things that matter in my life when I'm working in this. So this is the best job I've ever had because I'm having the biggest impact I've ever had. And the kids love it. We went over to tour the building. Here's some of the pictures. Look at the inside of this building. It's all open. It's all shared learning spaces and maker spaces that open out from these classrooms. There's, over on the left side, you can just see a glimmer of the glass walls that move out to open up to the shared learning environments. It's project-based learning in a K4 who didn't have any money and no hope. It's unbelievable. I can't tell you how excited I am about this building. Groundbreaking in January, ribbon cutting in January. They even have learning stairs outside. Isn't that great? 4th graders, can you see it? It's awesome. Here's another school. This is the one I mentioned before, Canyon View High School. It's another one we funded. This one won the McConnell Award. And this is project-based learning on steroids. I mean, they have a CTE program, career pathways. A kid has to pick a pathway to focus on for 2 years so that they are committed to learning about something that they're going to invest some time in. The other thing is all these walls are open to the shared learning spaces. So when a kid walks by a pathway in one of their forts, they call them forts because it reminds them when they were kids and they built forts out of tables, chairs, and blankets, because that's how flexible it is, that they can then say, oh my God, I didn't know we were teaching that here. Sports medicine? Boy, maybe I should pick that for my second 2-year training, right? So it's really, it's a crazy, crazy environment. It's so cool. Here's another high school. This is elementary school in Queen Creek, Silver Lake Elementary School. Oh no, wait, I'm sorry, this is the high school. I'm looking at the wrong slide. This is the high school, 712. They started as a 912, they decided to put a middle school there as well, and so now it's a 712 environment. This was done by Orcutt Winslow, and then construction manager was Core. We were doing jobs, most jobs, by CM at risk. I've interrupted that. We had a $120 million high school we paid a 7% construction management fee on. It should be 2%, 3%, 4%. Because the general conditions are all covered, the general requirements are all covered, that's pure profit. So I stopped that. Benson, we bid. We did a design, bid, build in a small community. What do you think that meant? All that money stayed in the community. And we had 8 bidders. And it came in about $500,000 less than we had projected it would be by our budgeting and the architect's budgeting. So it's an enriched environment. That school was $181 a square foot all in. This school was just south of 300 a square foot. DLR, the Canyon View, the award winner, was just at about 325 a square foot. On the high school there is, for sure, yeah. And you can see these are some of their smaller auditoriums there in the middle school. The Canyon View, the one we looked at a minute ago, has a media center, which is, they have a broadcast station. They call it the accelerator. They call the learning stairs in that environment the accelerator area here. They call it Times Square. Huh? Yeah. It's outdoor. In Arizona, you can do that. Actually, the solar collectors were an afterthought. Initially was canvas. When they found out, because we have a requirement that roofs have to last 20 years, so they applied that to the roof, which was canvas, and the contractor said, I can put collectors up there for less than that canvas. So that's what they did, and it offsets. They don't grid share, but it does offset a lot of their usage. So not only that, one of the company put in phase shift material at one of the ends of their buildings where they have identical classrooms on both sides. They did one without the phase shift material, one with the phase shift material, and they're now doing some economic studies and energy performance on those phase shift materials there. The contractor participated, the architect participated, and the manufacturer participated. There was no cost to the school at all. So these are the kinds of things that are happening now because of our culture, because we're open about it. You talk to the superintendent of this school, he thinks we're the greatest thing since sliced bread. And all we're doing is our job. All we're doing is taking the money we're given and shelling it out. I just keep asking for more, and hopefully they'll keep giving us more. And then this is the elementary school, also at Queen Creek, the same one for that other high school I just showed you. And this again this one was done by DLR, built by Chase. It's a CM at risk, a delivery model. And this one was, don't quote me, I think $275 a square foot. And that's all in. That's FF&E, that's contingency or retenage as we call it, and also fees. So this is another great school. It just opened. These are renderings, and this community is growing like crazy. So anyway, I want to thank you for your time. I want to let you know that we're the Click. We're committed to putting our customers first. We're leveraging best practices in every undertaking. We're indicating performance on everything we do. We go back and revisit all the time. In fact, we're going through a current state analysis of our BRG grant fund right now. We have a compelling value proposition from which the districts derive benefit, and we are knowing that everything they do matters. So I'd like to open it up for discussion. Yeah. Oh yeah, when I started, 100 of the 217 districts had ever asked us for money. The other 117 never asked us for a penny. And I did an analysis last year. We were at over 200 now. So it's amazing. Like I said in our last board meeting, which was November 6th, 61 districts got funding from us in 1 month. 168 projects totaling almost 13 million. So anyway, thank you for your time. I really appreciate it. I'll be around if anybody's interested in the slide deck. Let me know. I'm happy to share it with you. And have a good time while you're here. Thanks.